Hello and welcome to the Booksplosion Book of the Month live show for February. It's March.
What month is it?
The book for February. Who knows what month it is? They all blend together.
Truly.
Today we'll be discussing This Is Not the Jess Show by ANNA CAREY. We are working with QuirkBooks this month, and we all read along with this book, and it's time for our monthly discussion. Without spoilers, let me give you all a little brief synopsis of what this book is about, and then we'll share our non-spoilery brief thoughts, and then we'll get into a spoilery discussion. But before we get into that, should we announce our next month's book of the month?
Yeah, we should.
Do you have it handy, Christine? Christine's
I do. I've always got it.
I didn't give an what? In the month of March, we will be reading Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Last Hour series, a trilogy. This is a sequel trilogy to the Infernal Vices, so you definitely need to read that one first. Our live date for this is Saturday, April 3rd. We will be discussing Chain of Iron in all of its spoiler glory. If you need to catch up on the previous book, we did this for a book of the month last year, so there's a whole live show of us discussing Chain of Gold.
And I made a thing that you can watch everything that happens in 12 minutes, y'all.
A handy little recap if you need some reminders of like who the characters are and whatnot. But yeah, that's our March book of the month. For February, we read This Is Not the Jess Show by ANNA CAREY. This is about a teenage girl named Jess who is living her best life in 1998. She's dealing with overprotective parents and a sister who has an illness and a new crush on her best friend.
Wow, you've like memorized the synopsis real well.
I've talked about this in videos already, so it's in my brain. And everything is very normal, very late 90s for our main character, Jess. But then weird things start to happen, and she starts questioning little bits of like strange behavior from people, and just all these little mysterious things start adding up and have Jess questioning what is going on. And that's really all I want to say about that, because there is a comparison that really comes to mind with this book, but I feel like it's spoilery. So
it's better without it.
Yeah, it's better without knowing that. So we're not going to talk about that. But what other non-spoilery thoughts do you guys have about this book in general? What did you think? Who wants to kick us off?
I'll kick us off.
Kick us off, Jesse.
First teacher. So I ended up really enjoying this one. I will say that I wish I would have gone into it without knowing much about it. Like, I wish I wouldn't have read the description, honestly. Like, I just wish I would have dived into it, because I feel like the description kind of gives too much away a little bit.
It does, yeah.
Like, I wish there was a way to rewrite the description to make it intriguing, because I know that they want to make it as intriguing as possible. So I get like why they added certain things to the description, but like I wish they could have like gone at a different angle, because I felt like I knew too much going in. So you're just like, as I was reading it, I was just like waiting, anticipating for things to happen, certain things, because I knew it was coming. I still really enjoyed it though. Like, there was definitely some elements of surprises that I enjoyed. This book, the thing that this book is compared to, I have not
really
watched that scene. so I like didn't know what to really expect. I just thought I knew something trippy was going to happen. So I was pretty surprised by it. I will say I had like a little bit of a hard time connecting with the characters, but I still enjoyed following them. And I feel like that wasn't like the main goal, was to like get you to like connect to the characters necessarily. Like, it was just a fun story. And yeah, I really liked it. It was fun. And I liked being in the 90s. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, that a book set in the 90s is historical fiction.
Historical fiction.
I was heard that. Well, because I love the comparison of like the show, that 70s show was in the 90s. So a show today with that same thing would be set in the late 90s. So like that's nuts to me. Anyways. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really liked how everything came together at the end. Like Jessie said, I wish I didn't know so much about the premise, because it's so much more fun to go into this and like be on the ride with Jess. And if you're not on the ride with her and you're kind of just frustrated, like figure it out so we can see what's going on, sort of a thing. So I wish I didn't know all of the comparisons. That's the thing though. This author probably couldn't control that marketing, because they wanted people to pick it up. And like, I've had the same thing with like my books. I feel like it's just more fun to go into a book without knowing, but they want to sell the book. So they're like, I'm going to put this on there. And it's just like, it's so much more fun without that. Just like, please find a new different way. So anyway, I really enjoyed like the zoom out with the Black Mirror, and especially, are we doing spoilers or no spoilers?
No spoilers yet.
Okay, so like there's a Black Mirror zoom out, obviously, and the way that came together, and like the way seeing the world expand was really cool. The things it makes you think about, and I can't say anything, never mind. Okay, but yeah, that was really fun, and I always loved the Black Mirror aspect of books, and this was no different. I really loved that at the end, and I love like the little bit of like the romance that starts to bloom toward the end. I really enjoyed, yeah.
Kat, what about you?
Here's the thing. Since I had those expectations in mind of that comparison, I was a little bit like waiting for like the first 100 pages or so of like, we set all the groundwork and we established the mysteries and we build to it. But once we got to that reveal, I just had a blast reading this. It was such a fun ride once everything was coming together, and especially the last third of the book, like that last act, which went in a very different direction than the comparison that like is held to the standard of this. And I loved that part. I thought that was so fun. There's so much interesting ideas that this book plays around with that I really enjoyed. And I have feelings about the ending that I don't even know how to articulate. Because it's not that I have mixed feelings, because I really liked the ending. Ending kind of leaves you unsettled in a purposeful way. Like the book is trying to make you kind of unsettled with the ending of like, just feeling like weird about it, I guess. We'll talk more in detail in the spoilery section.
Yeah.
But I really liked the ending, and like after finishing this book, it made it that it's such like a sticky book in my head now, like, 'cause I couldn't stop thinking about like the implications of certain things, and like, where do the characters go from here? Because like, even though the arc is complete, this is a standalone, and I don't feel like we need a sequel. I am still left wondering, like, what do the characters do now? And like, I am interested in like seeing more, but I don't need more. And I love that about a book. So like, it makes it stick with you, and it won't come out of your brain.
Yeah.
I had a good time with this. I don't even know what genre to classify it as.
I would say it's almost like sci-fi. Like very mild sci-fi. Okay, well, fine. It's futuristic fiction. Futuristic contemporary? Like, what do you call it?
I don't know. That's my whole point. I don't know.
That's why I call it Black Mirror.
I think we should move into spoilers.
Yeah, we gotta move into spoilers.
Before that, we haven't announced our Dear Booksplosion live show date. Did we want to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Which we just set before we got on here. And
Wednesday, March 17th.
Yeah.
We don't yet have a topic for the show.
Oh, if you want to suggest one.
Yeah, suggest one if you like. But otherwise, you'll just have to wait and see.
Maybe it is mystery.
Yeah, I was going to say that comment, mystery, was definitely...
Yeah, Pop-Tart, thanks for that. But like, give away the mystery in the fucking, not the curse, in the synop. the comparisons.
But the thing, it's not just about the mystery, because even though that's kind of like that first plot twist is kind of given away, I didn't know what to expect for like, especially the last third of the book. Like that was just such a ride. But
that was the most fun part, because like you know what's coming now.
Let's get into spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers are coming.
Spoilers.
Okay, watch out. Spoilers are here. They're coming.
wait. Black Mirror, is it similar to this in that it's like a girl and a
Black Mirror.
So Black Mirror is like they're all contained stories. Every episode is just a new, completely different standalone, and it's always something that has a concept. It reflects like the dark. It's a dark reflection of the society we live in. So like, there's one episode where like, never mind. I don't know if I want to give anything away. Well, there's one episode that's like really real, and it's about specifically social media, and you get like just points as a person, and like every person has a level that they're on, and based on what level you're on, it bases like if you could buy this car or if you can live in this area, and like if you have bad ratings from just like every time you get a coffee, people rate you, and that's how your ratings go down. If you get a bad rating, like you can lose levels, and the more levels you lose, like the less you can actually do, and it's kind of horrifying. Because so easily something can just go wrong, and then all of a sudden you've like lost your level, and you like can't live here, and you can't do this, you can't buy this. It's just like really scary. So they take like aspects of our society and like put them into these contained stories where you follow a character and kind of live that horrifying life that could be our future. You know, like it so easily could be translated into what we do now.
It's already a speculative horror twist on contemporary issues of today dealing with social media and technology.
Yeah, but there's like, it's more than that. Like there's episodes about other things that are just like horrifying in our society, and they blow it out, and it's like, whoa, that was scary. So that's the Black Mirror aspect of this is, you know, like the reality TV thing, and the she doesn't know that she's living on a set her entire life. Like that's just messed up. Like her parents are so messed up.
Truly though, like so messed up. That like drove me, especially when they just accept a new daughter. I'm like,
I knew they were going to do that. Like as soon as they started planning, I was like, oh my god. As soon as we saw her room and it was like exactly like hers, I was like, oh my god, she's going to take her place.
I did not like that aspect. I did not like that Mims just came in and just like took over and nobody really
That's
knows.
the thing. That's the Black Mirror aspect of it.
That like annoyed me. I was like, what? This
because like she's so replaceable. Like the thing is,
the show must go on.
Yeah.
But also, okay, so the audience knew, like the audience knows what's going on, right? But wait, does the audience not know that Jess doesn't know that it's a show? Like
I think they know that Jess doesn't know. I know. It's so messed up. But the thing that I find so interesting about this is that while the situation is awful and the parents are awful, it's not that much of a stretch.
No,
like,
it's not.
Especially like I've seen things of like YouTubers who like have their like YouTube family vloggers who like film every moment of their child's life, and like the child doesn't have any say in it whatsoever, and how things can be so orchestrated and the kids like grow up in that environment. And
it's just, like the thing is there are people like that out there, and I've seen like reviews of certain books we've read where they're like, parents are never going to be that bad or never going to do that. And it's like the thing is there are super terrible people, so all these things could happen. Like,
absolutely. Especially when they've gotten in this situation where not only have they been doing this for some
whole life,
but they've become sort of like corrupted by the fame, and like they can't get out of it now. So like the only way they can move forward is by accepting this fake daughter.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that her parents don't even have the grace to like kind of secretly pull her aside when she figures it out or something, or like, it's just horrible. I mean, I would hope that maybe one of them reaches out, you know, like eventually, maybe. And someone in the chat actually said that it says #1 on Goodreads, so maybe that there is a second book. But I'm really glad she has that one other guy who's in a similar situation who was a minor, who like couldn't get out of it and escaped with her. I can't remember his name right now. Patrick, but his real name wasn't Patrick, right?
Kips.
Yeah, I really liked their little whirlwind romance toward the end, and that's something I really liked. Is like he was the guy that she really didn't want to be with, and it ended up being the only person who was like on her side. Like
I love that how he was like cast to be the love interest, and she was like no, but then he actually ends up being the love interest.
Yeah, and like the person she thought she liked was like a complete douchebag. Like, I enjoyed that, even though it was like horrible. That's another Black Mirror aspect of it too. Like he was just pretending to be this like underdog love interest, like because she liked him.
Wait, but were you guys not suspicious at all of Patrick and like thinking that maybe he was gonna like switch the?
Oh yeah, I was suspicious he was working with them for money.
Yeah, I was like, maybe they're like filming this too, and
that's
like,
what I thought. Yeah, when he got shot, though, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was mildly suspicious, but I was also hopeful that it wasn't going to end up like that.
Yeah.
I wanted Jess to have someone. At that point, like, how can you trust anything anyone says or does? Like, I wouldn't blame Jess for being suspicious.
Yeah, definitely. Also, like, the sister thing messed me up so bad, too. I was so annoyed by that. Like, the fact that it wasn't even her real sister or whatever, and, like, the illness was all fake and stuff, and, And
also, the sister didn't know that, Sarah didn't know that Jess didn't know. Like, Sarah thought that Jess was just, like, a really deep method acting, and, like, was just really into her role. And it was only, like, very recently that Sarah was like, wait, Jess literally doesn't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm really curious about how Sarah reacted to all this, because like Sarah grew up same situation. They told Sarah like truth about acting, like we're all playing a game of pretend and whatnot. So I wonder, like, why does Sarah get to know, and why did no one ever tell Jess?
Yeah. Well, because Sarah's mom also was like, they went home together. I don't know. It's hard if, like, you know, your mom's not actually the person that she's pretending to be in the show. But yeah, it's when did Sarah say she got to know? Like, she was like,
it was at the very end when they were on that phone call and they were arranging things, and Sarah was like, I didn't even realize that you didn't know until earlier in the book when Jess was like bringing up, she heard the protesters chanting.
Oh yeah.
Mentioned that, her friend's phone, the cartridge had fallen out, and that's when Sarah pieced it together and was like, wait, she literally doesn't know. Like, she's not method acting. No one has told her yet.
The most messed up part of like these producers in this storyline and her parents was like making her think that her sister had died. This storyline in general, like, how could you approve that? How?
That's horrifying. The other big horrifying part that I think is their own downfall is when they tried to make her think a different dog was her dog.
Oh my god, that was so dumb. Just make it your dog got lost.
Yeah.
They deserve to be found out because of that.
That was so stupid.
Like, give her another dog. You're like, oh, that everyone's just like, yeah, no, that's the same dog. And she's like, no, it literally isn't though.
I know. You know what made me so mad? When like she'd already figured it out, and her mom was like, I just had one of the hardest days of my life. And I'm just like, fork you. Just let it go, because she knows, and you're just being such an ass. I can't even. And their dad, like, bad acting when she was talking about how poorly he was acting. Oh my god. It's just like that part was like torturous. I just wanted them to know that she knew and acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Brenda said when the parents are interviewed by Mario Lopez, you get some insight on why the parents did what they did. But I mean, like, I can't remember the exact insight because I read this like 3 weeks ago now.
The insight was that they both had crappy childhoods and they wanted to give her a nice 90s childhood. And like, Jess did have a nice 90s childhood, but like, it was all fake and they were all lying to her the whole time. And they couldn't even tell, like, if they had told her themselves, everything would have been fine.
Yeah. And I can see how like you could start off like that and they could get caught up in it. But like once it gets to like this point where they're like, we're gonna make her sister fake die, then it's like, okay, you guys are really messed up. And it's like even if they're going along with it and then seeing her reaction, that's when you should be like, okay, this is too far. You know, like where's the line? There is none.
Even though like she figured it out before the actual death, like she still spent 3 years with her sister dealing with this illness and like having the emotional trauma of having to deal with this.
Yeah. And like the idea that there were cameras in her room through like puberty all the time, that's messed up. And they're like, we have a female editing it. And it's like,
that doesn't matter.
Well, somebody's watching this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's messed up. But again, that's the Black Mirror aspect.
So messy.
And also the whole thing where everyone's voting on like,
oh my gosh, yes,
different outcomes of everything. That one poll where it was like,
killer.
Where it was like, bring her, like, don't harm her, and it's like, bring her no matter what.
So my favorite reveal was that it was 2037. So it was like we were so past the 90s. It wasn't like now when it was just like 20 years ago. It was like her parents didn't even like, well, I guess they could have lived through the 90s, but her parents are like older. Like it's if we would be like 47-ish in that time. And so like we would be like our generation would be her parents. It's just like so crazy.
Yeah, it would be at least late 40s, early 50s. Because like I grew up in the 90s.
Stop talking about it.
Like I was younger than her, but I was still in it. Like so the stuff that she was talking about, like some of it I was like, oh my gosh, yes. But then like some of like all like the teen heartthrobs, like I didn't watch Party of Five because I was too young. And, like,
I was a little bit too young for that too.
Yeah.
But still in 1998, I was like 10, so I wasn't that much younger.
Yeah, I was like 7 and 8, so I was not in that bubble yet. But like the candy and like all like the little things she was talking about were all like, oh yeah, like that existed. I
still remember a lot of those pop culture moments, like Titanic, which was the biggest movie of all time.
Oh yeah.
And I remember all the Bill Clinton impeachment stuff. I mean, I didn't understand it back then.
I didn't even know that stuff. I like knew the name Monica Lewinsky because everyone was saying it, but I had no idea what was going on. But yeah, Titanic though was huge, even for us 7-year-olds. Everyone was watching it, and I was like, "How come I don't get to watch it? And all the other people in 2nd grade do." So
yeah,
I didn't get to watch it until I was 13.
I used to watch Saved by the Bell, but I feel like that was more of like wasn't that more of like 80s, or was it not?
That wasn't older. I never watched it, but it was on.
I never watched it.
Reruns were on and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was crazy. Like she was talking about on TV, there were like 3 channels, and like one just like not streamed, but was probably streaming movies.
True.
And like VHSs and CDs and yeah, like I think she mentions like 98 Degrees at one point. And it's just like all these boy bands and
all
stuff.
little references.
But yeah, the end was like the most exciting part of the book, and I see why they could do a sequel because like I don't know, there's got to be legal stuff that happens after this, you know.
Yeah,
like
I want to see her. I want to see people's reactions to the
new her.
Yeah, and I also want to see that the video that Jess recorded that didn't get out, where she was like, "You're all complicit in this. You're all."
She'll probably release it at the end of.
I want her to release it, or at least do something. Like when she turns 18, I want her to do something. But yeah, I don't know. There's see the things. I'm satisfied with this book being a standalone because I feel like the arc is complete. but there are so many things that I'm still curious about so much.
Right.
Like, are her parents actually okay with this new replacement daughter, or was it just like they're doing that for the camera and they're still...
They were definitely doing it for the cameras because they couldn't have looked bad.
How worried are they really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also wonder though, like, I don't, this might have been mentioned and I might have missed it, but like, were there not people that were like watching the show and being opposed to it and like protesting against it kind of a thing?
I wonder if they all thought that she knew by now, you know, like, do you think maybe they did?
It's vague about like whether or not she knew.
Yeah. Or if the public knew that she didn't know. So I don't know. I just feel like if I were to watch a show like this, I'd be like, no, this is not okay. Like,
yeah. Or the thing is, it would be different if there was a different approach to it. Like if it was more of a scientific psychological study, like that's a different angle that might have more reasoning to it. But like, there's no real reason for her to be the only one who doesn't know it's fake. Like literally,
entertainment.
Unless they're going to explore something like that. But then in that case, the audience would have to know when Jess turns 18 and like she finds out, and then the whole story becomes like dealing with this knowledge.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just because there's lots to think about.
I know. Really though.
Yeah. I don't, never mind. But let's see. Are there any questions in the chat? Do you guys want us to tackle any specific topics here?
No.
It's like a tamer version of the Hunger Games.
This one. At what point did you guys figure out it was a show? Because like personally, I didn't know that that was what we were leading up to. Like I didn't know it was going to be like a show. Like I had this like theory that maybe like somebody in the future had like trapped Jess in the 90s or something, and she was like going to try to figure out a way to get out. Like that was my theory going in, because I don't know Black Mirror.
Yeah, I knew too much.
And being like, like what's going to happen?
I mean, I knew too much. It has the word "show" in the title, so I mean,
that
was a little bit of a go. Also, like I feel like I knew the big comparison, so like I felt like I knew where it was going. But I was still pleasantly surprised by some things, like the reveal that it's actually 2037. That was a fun little twist.
Pop-Tart said, do you guys have sympathy for her friends? And I absolutely don't. They are terrible people. And then when we go into the real world and they're like, one's a pop star or something too, or one like runs her own show too. And it's just like, it's disgusting. It's because like your friends as a teenager, like you're everything. They're like your found family. Like they're the people that you tell everything to, and not your parents. And it's just to know that they're like all faking it this whole time, and they're just like trying to trick you. That moment where she's like trying to run away, and they're the ones that are like, Jess, what are you doing? Yeah. It's just like, are you kidding right now? Get out of my way.
Because it was so manipulative. Especially like when they're constantly prodding her to get her to talk and like explain her feelings, and like,
and they're not online on the weekends to talk to, like, or hang out with.
And how they're like, how she has a crush on Tyler, and so she's like trying to talk to them about him, and they keep brushing her off, and they're like, no, be with Patrick.
It's so weird.
Yeah, you have to be with him, and they keep like bringing him up and like nudging her toward him. It's just so manipulative. And
it's like, if you like him so much, why don't you freaking date Patrick?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And it's like a betrayal. Like,
and like also, aren't they? They're like in their 20s too. It's like a show. Yeah. It's just
better.
It's terrible.
How did you guys like the clues left by Sarah?
I wish I kind of got to see them, because if we got to try to put it together, it kind of probably would have been a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
But she only left that one album, right? Or she left clues to the album.
It was like the lyric booklet to the album.
Yeah.
With like certain words like underlined. Or
I
certain
wish
underlined.
I wish he just whispered it to her in the hospital, like, hey, meet me here and you can get out and this is my address. Like, this is my phone number.
I bet when she needed the phone number part at least written down.
Yeah. But like I wish she said something to her on that hospital bed. Like she just kind of looked at her, didn't she? She just like squeezed her hand.
Maybe she was afraid to talk at that point.
Yeah.
It was her death scene.
Her big death scene. Want to at least get the nominations.
She wanted to like get out clean because like she doesn't want any drama or anything from the producers. Like especially because at the end of it, like they arranged to have a house up north and they're like gonna go and be away from the public eye for a while. So like she probably didn't want to get dragged into a whole big thing, and like especially if the producers are as scary as it sounded like they might be, killing her guitar teacher.
But then he was like, I don't actually know what happened to him. It was just a room.
But with how they were tracking them down, and like so many of the security are like ex-military and stuff, like even if it is just a rumor, it doesn't sound like the people that you want to get in a mess with.
Yeah. What would you do if you found yourself in just a situation, Ari says?
Well, I've had thoughts about this since I watched The Truman Show back in...
You were literally about to just say, I've been in this situation before, so...
No, but like, The Truman Show was such a big deal. And like it made everyone, I feel like it made most people have those kind of thoughts, like, what if my entire life is a show? Like, what if everything is fake? I don't know. I would freak out, but I would also feel really bad for the viewers who just watch me watch YouTube for 10 hours a day.
Well, they would make you do other things, so that's how you know.
Yeah, that's how I know that my life is not a show, because my life is real boring.
The thing is, like, I would have flipped my shits a lot harder than she did. She was like, she like digested it so quickly and came out of the bathroom and was like, oh, I could pretend to be normal. I would be having like a legitimate panic attack and like screaming at people like, don't stop faking this. Stop acting. I know. Like I would know in no world would I be able to keep my cool like she does for so long. Because that's how you really get them too. If they were streaming it live, which they're not. But if they were, you could just like straight up talk to the camera. She could have run to her parents and while they were filming that live thing, be like, yo, I didn't know all this and it's terrible and everything sucks, and like do that right there.
Yeah.
Before they get
I would be on one of two ends of the spectrum. Like one would either be like freaking out and like not being able to hide it, or the other side, if I like, because Jess did kind of digest it quickly. If I could digest it quickly enough, I would use that to my advantage.
Same.
I wanted to do that.
I would play the game. I would start messing with everyone and like, putting them in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that she digested it so quickly though feels like the most unrealistic part of this for me, because this is her whole life. Like, how? I mean, unless she kind of went into shock, and that's what allowed her to digest it so quickly. But like,
I mean, there was also all the clues leading up to it ahead of time.
Yeah,
so, like,
but that's horrifying. Like, your dog's just another dog. Like,
yeah.
I think I would have like just died seeing that. Like, why don't you guys believe me? Like, what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah, that would have been hard to let go.
Yeah.
And have people being like, her mom is just so dismissive. It's like, I can't talk about this with you anymore. And it's like, this is a different dog.
Like, if I were her parents, I was improvising, I'd even be like, oh my God, I can't believe, I'd go along with it, because it's obviously not their dog. Like, we're having a crazy day.
I mean, the other things could have been brought up. The dog thing, like, really did them in. And, like, that was so, they could have totally just been like, oh, the dog ran away, or like, oh, like be like, oh yeah, we did have to have him put down, or whatever lie, since they're so good at lying, whatever they can come up with is better than that's the same dog. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she did because she's been thinking about the things like after the conversation with the guitar teacher and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I it's still like mad. It just, I don't know, your whole world would flip upside down in that moment to keep your cool.
Also different because she has the context of growing up in the 90s when like this kind of reality TV and technology didn't really even exist.
Yeah.
So like, it's more than just, oh, your entire life is a set on a show. It's your entire life is a set on a show 40 years ago.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like when she's out in the world, she's also kind of taking this in pretty calmly. Like there's like a lot of technology all of a sudden, and like the car drives itself, and she's just like, okay. I think she's got to be in like major shock, and maybe she'll process it later because she feels like her life is in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was also another moment where I felt like the reaction was a little didn't mesh well with the situation at hand, and that was when after Kipps got shot, they decided to make out for a while. I was just like,
did they? I don't. Was that in the room?
They're on like the fire escape or something.
Oh.
And I was like, he is bleeding. Like, you don't know how bad he is hurt. Like, this is an inopportune moment to make out.
When he got shot, I was like, why aren't we taking this more serious? But it was just like a graze.
Yeah.
But he was still shot.
Do you guys have any like book recommendations that you would give for somebody who enjoyed this book?
I just did a video doing that.
Good one, I forgot.
Yeah.
Christine's video.
It's hard to think of other comp titles for this, since it is quite unique in that it's like historical and also futuristic.
Well, I know one right now, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I talk about that in my video too, but like that's a very recent one that definitely gives you a lot of Black Mirror feels.
Didn't you read a book that like kind of about a reality TV show situation that you really liked?
Oh yeah, Jane Unlimited.
That'd be a good like rec based off this, but
no, not Jane Unlimited. Nice Try, Jane Sinner. It is about a reality TV show, but it's so very different from this. It's set in like a community college, and it's like a local TV show, and they're all living in a house together, and everyone is well aware that it's a TV show. So like there's no mystery about that. But I love that book. Nice Try, Jane Sinner. It is super funny, very underrated because I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. But it's great.
Yeah, and I don't think it has to be a reality TV show to like give you this sort of feeling. Like there's a lot of books that are like, I'm just repeating stuff from my video, so never mind.
You're good.
I'm just repeating myself. The video that like didn't go to sub feeds at all. If you missed it, it's called like Black Mirror in its own books, and no one saw it.
Should we take just a couple more questions?
Sure.
Let's see.
Thanks. I'm glad you saw it, Ari. If there's a sequel, what do you think it would be about? I think it's probably going to be about her trying to find a resolution with like her parents and money. Like they owe her a lot of money her whole life. She's been, and like she's taking like half the money that Lydia and
Sarah had.
But like she was the star of their show. She's on all their merch. Like there's some legal shit that has to be worked out there because her whole life was exploited and she's not going to even reap the one benefit, which is that she should be set for life.
Yeah.
Really.
Even though they're like, oh, you're a minor, so you don't have any like decision in being on the show or not. Like, I feel like that's not correct legally or morally for that matter, but like specifically legally, I feel like they aren't allowed to do that.
Yeah. What was I gonna ask? Would it be This Is Not the Mims Show? Is that what the title would be?
God.
This was never the Mims Show. This should not be the Mims Show.
The thing is, I would like this pool wouldn't be as like mysterious or have like that thriller aspect, I don't think. But if it does delve into like more of the repercussions of like, does society just accept that Mims is the new Jess? Like, who goes along with it? Are there viewers who are like not okay with it? Like, do people realize? Like, I want to see people who support Jess. I was so rooting for like someone she comes across to be on her side. And like at first I thought maybe that was Mims, but then it was like, no, it really wasn't. And I just would have loved to see Jess, like that's how I thought they were gonna be like saved when they were on the run and like they had no money. I thought they were gonna find someone who was like against the show and who like didn't like how it was handled and like decided to help her because of that reason. So the fact that like she couldn't find anyone to help her was like really discouraging for like the humanity of people.
Sorry. Juliana White just said, I love how shiny the book is under the jacket. I didn't even look at it, but look at it. It's so cool.
It's really pretty. And I like the end pages too.
Very nice.
Yeah, the book.
Yeah, I did the audiobook, so like I wasn't holding this. Wow.
Wow.
QuirkBooks always puts like care into like their physical book design. And
it was very confusing because the box said it was from Penguin Random House. Do they own Quirk?
They help distribute.
Oh my gosh. I was like, they own another company. Man. Okay. Let's see. Brenda said, I love Daddy LaRue. This one I'm on the fence about. Well, I'm just saying I, LaRue is another Black Mirror book. You know, it's not like a direct comparison.
What was that book that we read where like you had to pay for the words that you said each day and like all the words were copywritten?
Oh,
I didn't read that one. I just
you read that one?
No, it wasn't like our book of the month or something.
No, I totally remember that you read that book.
I don't remember this book.
I have a distinct memory of you in New Jersey listening to the audiobook on the couch.
Really?
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like green.
Oh my God, I can't even remember it.
Like everything is copyrighted.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, never. I remember the ads and stuff.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
All rights reserved. All rights reserved. That's
All rights
yeah. Oh my God, that book was like overload with the crazy future stuff.
Yeah.
That's a Black Mirror book.
Yeah. Catherine Clark said, I feel like the author put in the future to kind of call out Gen Z millennials, saying this is where we're headed in real life. I think it's just like the natural, like, you know, fear of the progression of technology. And our generation is the generation who has like first kind of jumped into this. So it's interesting to think about like how it'll affect our kids and how it'll affect the way we raise them. Because I was thinking about it too when I was writing Better Together, like, because the parents are closer to my age than they are to my parents' age. And like one of the things I was thinking about when I was writing it was like, what if like someone from like some of my age who loved this and this and this had kids, and like what would it be like and how would it be so different? And I think that's just the natural progression of like thinking about technology and the changes in the way kids are raised and everything happens. So I don't know if it's particularly calling out us as much as it's calling out technology and like the way it's going to shift our generation's focus and the way we work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's my little lecture.
There's your TED Talk.
Overused, so I didn't say TED Talk.
All right.
Okay, let's see. What time period would you want to flash back to? Like, would you want to like live in if you had to for like?
Without knowing that you were being in a reality show.
Well, what if you had to live in a different like decade right now for the next 5 years? Like, where would they want to be put? It would be interesting to be in the 90s, but like if you think about it, you're gonna go back so much with like women's rights. Like, and going backwards is always gonna be worse.
Like, yeah, that's the problem. See,
Yeah.
I'm really like when I think about this, I always kind of come out of it feeling quite satisfied with the era that I grew up in, because I got to grow up before technology. Like when I started high school, no one had a cell phone, and by the time I graduated high school, more and more people had cell phones. Like I was like right at that peak age where like technology was growing with me, and so like I still got to have a childhood where like no one had phones, and we had my mom had a beeper that I had to like call her on the beeper to like get in touch with her when she was at work. And like there was no social media, and I really enjoyed having that as my childhood. But I love social media and technology now, and like I wouldn't want to be away from more.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like again, like I'm like 2 years behind Kat, but like I grew up, like we got buddy lists in 4th grade, and it was like you can go on AIM Instant Messenger and talk to people, and that was like huge. Like we all exchanged our screen names and like wrote them down in our notebooks so we could add them all to our buddy list. And that, and then MySpace in middle school was huge, and like that was like the first sort of Facebook like thing that I was able to join, and it changed everything. Like all of a sudden you were worried about like the hierarchy of your friend group and having like 8 people to put in your top 8, because there was a section of your MySpace page where you picked 8 people that were your like top friends, and if you didn't have 8, it was like you only have 8 friends. I had like my sister and my cousin in there like fill 8 people,
and like rearranging it was always a big thing. Like you get in a fight with one of your friends and you fucking bump them down the list.
Yeah, and like you know, yeah, and that's like even, you know, and like growing up with that, now people just grow up with like Instagram likes and stuff. Like I can't imagine like how that messes you up in middle school, but like top 8 messes you up. Like anything like that starts to mess you up, and you're growing up with that from the beginning on. Like there's going to be so many different dynamics in the way we think and stuff because of it. But yeah, cell phones are just not.
I'm glad that I did not have the internet until I was like 16. Like I'm thankful for that, because like I can't even imagine how having it so young, like growing up with the influence of everyone on a global scale, like have it.
It didn't feel global when we were like young though. Like it felt like my class
felt small. Yeah.
Yeah, because those are the people on my buddy list, and I had so much fun on AIM. Like, and we made like, oh, we'd had such mischief. Like my best friend and I would like make a very similar screen name to someone in our class, and then like pretended to be them to other people. It was horrible. Like that's what happens when you're like 10 years old on like those things. And now there's so much damage that young people can do on the internet so easily, because when you're young, you just don't realize how harsh those repercussions are for people and how much you can hurt people's feelings. Like looking back on it, like we did stupid, like it wasn't anything mean. We were like, when looking at it, it was like so dumb, the mischief that we did, but like you could do some real damage to somebody with that stuff.
No.
And also the internet is forever. So like all the dumb things that like kids and young teenagers do, because we all do stupid things in our past.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that none of my like bad looks, like my tragic bangs and whatever, like I'm glad that didn't make it to the internet. And like I'm just glad that I wasn't living on the internet when I was growing up, because it gave me time to like
Well, did you like go on AIM right after school and be like, oh my God, who's on? And like look at your away message and stuff?
Well, the thing is, like the internet was around before I was in high school, but I live in a more rural area, so like, and it wasn't required. So like, I didn't even have a computer at home until I was 16 or 17.
Oh my God, Kat. You're really in the dark age.
I know. But like I am still kind of thankful for that. Even though like at that point I was like, oh my God, Mom, we need a computer. Like we need I had to go to the computer lab at school to type assignments because like at that point they had to be typed in like
my God.
I know.
We were behind the time because we had it. Like it was available.
It existed. It was around. I just wasn't I just didn't have it at home because like it was still in that like influx of technology where like not everyone had a computer. Like there were computers at the school and the internet at the school, and so I would always go in early to school to like use it because I liked being on the internet too, on MySpace and everything, which was like the only website I ever went to back in the day. But I didn't have it at home, and a lot of other people didn't because again, small town, and like that was back when like even if you got on the internet, it was still felt small. Yeah. And like, the thing it just wasn't necessary. My parents wouldn't buy me a cell phone. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 18, and I was able to get it myself. Well, that's not true. I had a prepaid cell phone at 16, which was still ridiculous. But yeah.
I've gotten into like thought spirals about like how if this had happened in like even like 2005, like we wouldn't be able to see anybody. We wouldn't be able to talk to anybody like we do, like Zoom calls and stuff. Yeah. We would just have to be isolated, and it would be terrible, like so much worse than it is right now. Because we can have meetings, like how would we work? You know, we have like group phone calls and stuff, and it's not the same because you can't see the people. Like it'd be really hard to see, and like my family across the way, like we can never see each other. I mean, like it would suck. So we're really, really blessed to have had this happen like when we had this technology, because even in like 10 years ago in 2011, like it would be so pixely and shitty and hard to do what we do now. Wow, 2011 was 10 years ago.
God.
But like if I had to, any decade, it would just be the one right before this, because it's like the closest they're gonna get to this. Yeah. Jesse, did you say anything about, you have any opinions on going back?
No. Yeah, I'm probably the last decade. I don't want to go too much farther.
Yeah. Okay. This is like, even then, like people were so much more racist 10 years ago. People were so much more sexist 10 years ago. Like we've made so much progress, and you don't see it until like you see a show from then. You're like, oh God, they said all this stuff in there, and it was fine and normal then.
Yeah.
So it would suck. Like especially the 90s, like things were terrible.
Yeah.
People were so mean all the time.
I mean, even before that, like you go back a couple decades, I was working on a story idea that involved time travel, and as I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't want to write this actually, because like being a woman in like any time in history sucked a lot. In so many ways. Like even it wasn't until like the 1970s that women could have their own credit cards and bank accounts. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, just like Kaylee said, gay marriage was just approved in 2015. Like it's insane. And like you go, remember there was just like it's just, there's so much stuff. Just like old Facebook posts, like the words people use that are like completely just like terrible to see and hear now.
I mean, like obviously we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Things are better than they were even 5-10 years ago.
And it's going to be like that for every generation. It's like the change happens slowly, but once it changes, you see like how.
Well, also social media has really accelerated a lot of these changes, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because people are held more accountable for
faster too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like people will find things faster and see things faster. Like, Because like if some celebrity said something that was maybe, they shouldn't have said in a magazine, like before the internet, people would see it in that magazine, but like it wouldn't be blasted everywhere,
They might talk to like their handful of friends that they know personally, as opposed to like tweeting it to 20,000 followers.
Yeah.
Having it spread and spread.
Yeah.
Victoria said, all that aside, I would love to go to a ball.
True.
Like if you just poof in and out.
Let's bring the balls back. Let's just bring it back into the 21st century.
We do have balls. They're called prom.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
What is prom gonna look like after all of this? I'm curious.
Prom? Oh, I mean, it's not gonna go back to normal. Prom?
Eventually, but I don't know.
I think after we're all inoculated and it's been like 6 months through like to get past the traumatization of like not being traumatization. Is that something? Is that a word?
I don't know. I'm noticing so many little things now that like have horrified me of like past behavior that was fine. Like I saw someone on Twitter mention like blowing out birthday candles. Like we for real used to birthday candles. Just like spread your germs all over a cake and then serve it to everyone.
I used to think about that all the time. No one else ever mentions it.
You would though.
Yeah.
Big old germaphobe.
I was like, they just spit all over that cake and we're gonna eat it.
You already were crazy about germs. Now you're gonna be like, oh man.
Oh, now everyone just is raising all the points that I raised like years ago.
Christine is just vindicated.
Like, yeah. Where y'all been?
Like, I've been thinking about this my whole life.
Oh man.
Oh man. So should we just remind y'all about our next month's book and our dates here?
Next month, we will be reading Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, the second book in the Last Hours trilogy. This just came out on March 2nd, brand new release. If you catch up on book 1, Christine has a video recapping it in 12 minutes if you want a fast little recap. We also did a live show for the first book last year, so you can see that on the Booksplosion channel here. And our live show for that will be April 3rd, Saturday, April 3rd, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, right here, as per usual. We'll be discussing all of the details. I'm sure it'll be a fun one that we'll have lots to talk about because Cassie books, we always have lots to talk about. I can see Christine's frustration, but we're not going to tackle that right now. Christine's already finished the book. And then
I feel like a lot of people have.
It's been out for 3 days.
I know, but like so many people were already like, when I said I finished, they're like, oh my God, what do you think of this? What do you think of this?
And then also we are having a Dear Booksplosion show on March 17th. So come join. That's a Wednesday, right? Wednesday, 6 p.m. each time. We'll be back here on the channel having a casual Dear Booksplosion. For the Dear Booksplosion shows, you don't need to read anything ahead of time. We're not discussing anything spoilery. You just come and hang out with us as we chat about whatever the topic of the day will be. And we don't know what that's going to be yet. But yeah, that's all for the updates. Thank you for joining us for This Is Not the Jess Show live show discussion. I'm Kat.
I'm Christine.
I'm Jesse. We're Booksplosion.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.